All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about the first great cyber espionage hunt. And believe it or not, this whole thing, a massive KGB plot, was unraveled because of a tiny 75-cent accounting error. Seriously.
So, picture this, it's 1986. We're at the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, and at 2:13 in the morning, a pager just goes off, waking up an astronomer named Clifford Stoll.
He immediately rushes to the lab. He knows what's up. That ghost in his machine, that digital phantom, it's back. Someone is in his system who shouldn't be. But here's the thing, this wasn't just some random hacker. Oh no, this was the very beginning of an incredible cat-and-mouse game that would literally span the globe. So you're probably wondering, how does a massive international chase even start? Well, it wasn't with some big explosion or a blaring alarm. Nope. It all started with a simple bookkeeping error for an amount smaller than what you'd pay for a newspaper back then. You see, Clifford Stoll, who was actually an astronomer just kind of helping out as a sysadmin, got stuck with this task. He had to figure out a 75-cent accounting error in the lab's computer usage. I mean, 75 cents. Most people would just write that off as a simple rounding error, right? Not a big deal.
But Stoll, he was different. He was curious. And when he dug in, he found out it wasn't an error at all. It was a ghost user, someone calling themselves Hunter, who'd swiped a professor's login to get in. And just like that, the hunt was on.
Okay, now here's where things get really fascinating. You have to remember, this is 1986. The tools we have today for digital forensics, they didn't exist, not even close. Stoll had to basically invent everything as he went. He was, in a way, writing the playbook for how we track hackers even now.
And this hacker was no amateur. He was smart. He found a tiny bug in a common text editor, GNU Emacs, and used it to give himself super user access. We're talking the keys to the entire kingdom. Total control.
And once he was in, he didn't just look around. He started setting up shop. First, he snatched the entire encrypted password file so he could try to crack it on his own time. Then, he created his own secret ways back in by just deleting the passwords of real users. This is the perfect example of that cuckoo's egg idea. Hiding your own malicious stuff inside a normal, healthy system, just waiting for the right time to cause trouble.
So how did Stoll fight back? With some seriously old-school clever tricks. Remember, that little error popped up in August? By September, he had physically wired up printers and pagers to go off the second this guy logged in. Then, by October, he's looking at the login times and has this brilliant thought. The hacker is always active when it's the middle of the night in California. Why? Because international modem rates were way cheaper at night. This pointed straight to Europe. So naturally, Stoll goes to the big guys, right? The FBI, the CIA. But they weren't interested. At all. I mean, to them, a 75-cent loss was nothing. And as far as they knew, no classified information was in danger. Or so they thought. But everything was about to change. Stoll started to realize that the Berkeley lab, it wasn't the final destination. No, it was just a stepping stone, a launchpad to somewhere much, much more important. From Stoll's lab, this hacker was jumping over to attack around 400 different US military and government computers. Suddenly, this wasn't about 75 cents anymore. This was a massive wake-up call for every intelligence agency out there. Espionage had just gone digital. And here's the kicker. He wasn't just randomly poking around. He was on a mission. It was like he had a shopping list for state secrets. He was searching for super specific keywords. Things like nuclear, SDI, the Star Wars missile defense program, and even spy satellite designations, the most sensitive stuff of the Cold War. At this point, the only way to catch the guy was to trace the phone line. But back then, that took a long time. They had to keep him connected, keep him talking, and Stoll's plan to do that, it was pure genius, a complete work of fiction. He built an incredibly detailed trap, what we'd now call a honeypot. He invented a whole fake government project called SDINet, created a fictional secretary for it named Barbara Sherwin, and then filled it with mountains of juicy-looking but totally fake secret documents. And oh, did the bait work. The hacker took it, hook, line, and sinker. He got obsessed, spending hour after hour downloading this fake, bureaucratic gobbledygook. And all that time he was wasting gave the authorities in Germany exactly what they needed to finally trace that call all the way back from California.
And then they got the smoking gun, the absolute proof. The hacker passed on the details of this fake project to his contacts in the real world. And get this, a Hungarian intelligence agent sent an actual physical letter addressed to the fake secretary Barbara Sherwin. That one letter physically connected this digital intrusion directly to a KGB operation. Game over. So the trace worked. And where did it lead? Not to some high-tech government bunker. It led them to a small apartment in Hanover, West Germany. Inside, they found their man, a programmer named Markus Hess. Turns out he was part of a small ring of hackers, and they were selling all this stolen American military data to a KGB agent, a guy they knew only as Sergei, all for about $54,000.
Now, during all this, especially in those final, tense moments of the chase, Stoll had a key ally, a guy named Bob Morris Sr., who was one of the top computer security experts over at the NSA.
But here's a wild twist to the story. That same expertise in computer security would just 2 years later be linked to a totally different digital disaster, one that was unleashed by, of all people, Bob Morris's own son, and it was an event that brought the entire early internet to a grinding halt.